There were so many great plays this season. A lot of them had to do with THRESH and support plays, but since I'm a jungler, I'm going to have to go with NintendudeX Vi.
Yeah, oh, he gets the flash! What? No way, Nintendude!
He was able to predict flashes from the laners when he was going to gank them multiple times, and it was very impressive.
Now they're going to see him. The flash play comes in. Oh, he gets it again! He did the same thing to Tyrants in their last game!
Nintendude is pretty much a god.
And welcome back to the North American LCS Spring Playoffs and our second match between Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Coast. In game one, it wasn't Nintendude making the flashy plays, it was all about Dexter. He went 5-1-3 as NOCTURNE. He picked up his Feral Flare at 14 minutes and 42 seconds, very early on. Kobe, was he LCS big play worthy that game for you?
Yes, this game, the jungle was pretty much all Dexters. Now, that being said, when you're playing Feral Flare versus a Feral Flare jungler, and your team is ahead this early, it's very easy. The game plan is very easy. You just farm your jungle, and since he's NOCTURNE, and he's that much further ahead of the enemy jungler, the threat is always there. So Coast have to play their lanes more scared anyway, just because there's a fed NOCTURNE on the other team. Dexter doesn't even have to show his face. He's this incredibly threatening figure that's always hiding in the fog of war. And he's going to have that one really impactful gank every time his ult is up. Plus, he played it really well. He went to go farm Nintendude's jungle whenever Nintendude went to go for a gank, further putting Nintendude behind on his count.
So on the other side of the coin, NintendudeX, he struggled on Zinzao 0-3-1. If we're looking at timers, his Feral Flare was completed at 22 minutes. That's 6.5 minutes later. No, 7.5 minutes later than Dexter's. His big play little bumper video was great. His Vi prediction ganks were good, but he didn't really predict well enough in this last game. Saint?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you have that big play video right before this, and I would go as far as to say Xin is the strongest jungler in the game right now. And I know people argue with me on that, but I feel in the right hands, he is hands down the strongest jungler. And NintendudeX just didn't make a good case for it. He didn't understand like the power spikes in the champion. He didn't understand what you're supposed to do with a Feral Flare as far as farming, dragon control. Yeah, he just looked like I would rather see him on Vi.
Well, we'll see. This is game two. If they lose this one, they're going to drop down to that decider match, possibly face promotion. As an aside, it was interesting to see the top lane matchup. I like to see ZionSpartan on playmaking champions. Yes, you can carry with Ryze, but I think it takes too long. And seeing him grabbing Nintonso's Ryze and Nien playing Jax was quite cool. I also want to throw out there the bottom lane of Coast really did fall behind Rush Hour. Doublelift and Aphromoo, they had such a strong league. We've been talking in the pregame how we felt that was one of CLG's biggest strengths in this matchup. What was your take on the bottom lane, and what do WizFujiiN and Daydreamin need to do now in game two?
They need to press their heal buttons. I mean, that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. He died. Both of them have flash and heal up when he dies. Like Saint said, that should never happen. That's not really acceptable.
Remember, kids, you can be an LCS player if you use your summoners.
Heal is really powerful right now, but you have to use it and heal yourself. That being said, Daydreamin, I thought, played the hardest here for Coast. He was working overtime, driving around in his ambulance, throwing out lanterns, saving everybody that he could. However, the laning phase did make that big mistake. I do want to touch on one point for the top lane that you brought up, though. The difference, I thought, was really in how they use their teleports. Nien had an amazing teleport down by the dragon to cut off Coast, and they got an objective after that as well, whereas Zion was never really using his teleport offensively. He kept on having to go back to lane with it.
Well, final thoughts for Saint before we jump into the game. What do Coast need to do?
They just need to talk and to, I guess, brush the nerves off. I mean, it just looked like nobody was together in that game. There was no synergy. Yeah, just nobody was together, no teamwork.
Well, we'll see if they can find that teamwork if it's happened between the break. We're going to send it back over to freaking Jat for the play-by-play.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. What's up, guys? We're back, and it's time to get right into Champ Select and see what these teams will be pulling out in Game 2.
Yep.
Wonderful analyst has talked about what they're going to do to win.
Exactly. I mean, what Saint just said there, Coast needs to get their act together if they want to avoid getting ran over once again. They had 2 to 3. They had 3 kills that game. But that was only because CLG decided to end the game quickly and swiftly rather than save their KDAs, and it was still incredibly one-sided. So CLG absolutely has all the cards in their hands right now.
Yeah, they do. They've made the right plays. Like, even if you play like non-ganking junglers, they had the one who farmed faster anyway with NOCTURNE. Like, down the line, everyone did well. I still do want to say that Coast's top laner and mid laner played well. They got CS leads in their lane, but they were kind of alone there. They didn't get the help they needed. The ganks worked from Dexter, and the team fights worked. Here we go, guys. Next game coming through. Coast gonna adapt some new bans this one. Orianna and now Lulu added to the mix. And of course, they get first pick, so we'll see just what CLG want to remove. Actually, wow. A lot of support picks removed away by Coast.
A lot of heals and shields. They're going to try and control CLG as best they can, but that just leaves up tons of stuff. Obviously, with the Jax ban, they were respecting the power of Jax. I expect a lot more Jax bans, maybe even throughout the duration of these LCS playoffs. Very surprised to actually see LeBlanc as opposed to NIDALEE for that first pick.
I feel like it makes sense in this context, where like I think in the general scale, like if you're on equal footing, NIDALEE makes more sense. She'll do more for a team. But I feel like Coast right now needs Shiptur to win his lane again and do something with that lane lead. I think LeBlanc roams are generally more impact than NIDALEE roams, so I think it makes sense in this matchup. Of course, CLG now get their choices. Once again, first rotation, or first couple of picks. Lucian comes through for Doublelift. Lee Sin now, interesting.
The Lee Sin pick is very smart here by CLG. Not only has Dexter succeeded on Lee Sin in big moments, but it blocks one of Coast's better team compositions, which would be LeBlanc in the mid lane and actually Lee Sin in the top lane for ZionSpartan. It would be their highly mobile solo lane carry comp. They can't do it now because Lee Sin's been taken away by CLG.
So now the question is, what does Coast fall back to? Jax removed, Lee Sin removed. He did rise last time, but even though he won the lane, I think Shiptur, or sorry, Quickshot said it. He was like, yeah, well, he's not really on like a playmaker there, right? He's just farming and waiting to scale late game.
I actually heavily dislike double AP compositions with LeBlanc. Because LeBlanc alone forces people to build heavy magic resist to not get destroyed, and it just cuts into the other guy's sustained damage. You should have, if you're going to run double AP, I feel like they should both have sustained damage or both have incredible amounts of poke. LeBlanc and Ryze don't mix very well.
Okay, well, we'll see if Coast fall into this kind of situation with this one. It's going to be support Karma down to the bottom lane for Daydreamin. Nintendude is going to get Nocturne for himself. Jumping on that bandwagon really quickly. CLG, I'd be a little bit surprised to see TF just because I feel like it's a bad matchup. But we've seen Twisted Fate like 1 or 2 times a day over the last couple of weeks or so. He's come back.
It's an incredibly difficult matchup if he picks Twisted Fate into it, and that's what the NIDALEE is for. CLG's composition is shaping up to be one of these, I don't have a name for it yet, because I don't necessarily feel like it's a poke comp per se.
Okay.
But it's more about a team composition that wants to fight you without you having the opportunity to fight back. They move around the map, they are highly mobile, and they find kills and damage when they can, and generally just try and make it so you can never engage upon them. That's what COG's going for here with the NIDALEE and THRESH.
We'll see what the last pick ends up being. Coast look for a new carry top laner with Aurelia on this one. So a far cry from Ryze, but heck, if you remove the Jax, you remove the Lee Sin, Aurelia will come through with this one. So it's going to be Trundle top lane and matchup against that. So Aurelia Trundle top lane. I feel like it's actually okay for Aurelia, but we'll see how it pans out.
This team composition makes a lot more sense for Coast than it did in the previous game. Nocturne and Aurelia can dive in together. NintendudeX should theoretically be able to get the transform fairly quickly. The only thing that didn't work for them last game that they really went back to is the Ezreal. So we'll really have to see if WizFujiiN can do better or if they can force lane swaps. Much better this time around, but you have to remember how badly CLG beat them.
Yeah, I think this has a better recipe for success in that the way Coast lost their lane last time was they kept getting poked at, they kept getting pushed on, and they were down to their turret, and THRESH doesn't help that. Whereas if you got Karma, you can maybe shove back, but of course this now opens up Aphromoo for clutch hooks, for plays, maybe earlier picks and earlier kills. Have to see how that one pans out.
Yeah, this time they still have a fair amount of shields and heals on CLG. 3 summoner heals once again. They didn't necessarily even need those to come into play last game because they controlled the map so well. And a lot of the early game in this one will be how well Dexter can shut down or pressure the lanes as opposed to NintendudeX, because the matchup very much now is Lee Sin. The roles are completely reversed. Lee Sin needs the early pressure and Nocturne wants the farm.
Exactly. So we'll see now how this is going to pan out there. It's like, okay, well, Nintendo, if your ganks aren't working, can you become the carry threat, right? Like, it worked for Dexter to sit in his jungle, wait till 6, and just force something every 2 to 3 minutes, and that was fine. Dexter was massive that game. He had a very big force in, he was one of the big reasons CLG won. If that's what it takes, I mean, keep in mind, actually, I want to point out, Nintendude's like top 25 in solo queue. Like, I know he has a pretty bad sort of set of stats here in the LCS, but on an individual play level, Nintendude's ludicrously good. So I want to see if a different style, so you know, I'll be a carry too, if that works. That's a new look for Coast, and that one pans out.
Oftentimes, it's all about the teamwork, where Coast has been falling short time and time again this year. Remember, CLG in 2013 lost both of their quarterfinal playoff series, but this is a new team, new play styles, and the game constantly changes. CLG has improved massively. They are now 1 win away from a semi-final clash with TSM tomorrow.
And a top 4 finish, which will be pretty good for these guys, at the very least. Of course, a trip to the All-Stars still on the line if you win the entire thing. If you win the grand final the next day after. Link right now, very similar situation there. Counterlogic Gaming, waiting around with Nien in the tri-brush. It's the exact same posture too. They're all waiting in different wings of it.
This is actually a game where CLG would prefer to 2v1. I've talked to Aphromoo a lot about support matchups, and he is adamant about Karma beating up on THRESH early on in the game. You just stare a hook in the face and shoot a Mantrid Q at THRESH, and you'll win the trade with Karma.
Yeah.
So Aphromoo and CLG might look to get lane swaps, but in the way they manipulated the lanes last game, it shouldn't be a huge problem.
Yeah, I do want to see what this pans out to be. Like, I always want to do kind of the mental math on like who's the fast pusher here, who's gonna get more damage output, and like you have the edge a little bit by having like Spell Thief Karma. You'll do more damage than the THRESH will in general.
But the Lucian will push a little bit faster than the Ezreal.
Absolutely.
Because of his double shot.
Yeah, I feel like Ezreal has to... I'm wondering like how much Essence Flux keys into that for WizFujiiN. Like if he can keep the attack speed going high enough, but...
It would heavily depend on how many people they decide to push with.
Yeah. And if Nintendo
or if he even skills it up, because you're
True.
level 2, and do you really want to go in without a Mystic Shot or a dash?
That's absolutely true. We'll see what happens with this one. Looks like the blue buff can be started up by Coast. Nintendo going to get that one fairly safely. No ward coverage for him, actually, but he's secure with this one. Dexter going to grab his own, steal away the blue buff. Nien actually already starting the white camp. So, Counterlogic Gaming happy to keep their entire team on this side of the map and then collapse in.
And one of the most important things here for CLG with this counter jungling is that Dexter leaves small minions around because that will directly impact NintendudeX's ability to get Barrel Flare. It's not so much about the experience denial, even though it's nice. The bigger goal is actually to stop it from stacking up a Barrel Flare.
So here we go. CLG actually going to push to the top lane rather early. The next wave coming in on this one, and it's going to not even be the cannon minion wave. So they push on wave number 2, and the turret's under fire.
Yeah, they're rushing this as quickly as possible. How many times have they scrimmed and practiced this? As there are 4-man pushes in both waves. Remember, this turret that Coast is pushing should theoretically fall faster than the one CLG is pushing, but CLG started first.
Well, there we go, down to half HP it is. The Essence Flux here for Ezreal, not picking up an escape for now. CLG does get the turret number 1. Dexter getting rid of the cannon minion, the wave clear coming through. Coast off to a much slower start on this one. Can they make the headway in time right there?
They're pretty even with each other, though, especially with the Essence Flux and the way the minion waves are lining up right now. It's most likely going to be a 2-turret trade for both of these guys. The question will then be, how do they rotate afterwards? That's where CLG usually gains their edges against teams. We'll see if Coast has some up their sleeve here.
Here we go, the push now. It's tier 2 turret under fire for both these guys. The mid lane mashup, actually a lead for Shiptur. We haven't watched it much, but that is actually working well in Coast's favor. The gold rather equal. Tier 2 turret's definitely going down. And the recall here for Nien. In full vision, Coast knows that he's defending. Actually, same situation for Coast. They're going to back off.
Yep.
So the 2-turret trade in WizFujiiN going to deny the waves, let them die to the turret, and then pick up the local gold.
Very even turret pushing for both. 80 carries actually managed to pick up. Still decent CS numbers. They were last hitting things. A little bit more CS denied there by Coast.
Yeah.
And they're isolating the gold down onto WizFujiiN, which is pretty nice. Get that last hit in. Good amount of local gold.
Yeah, so let's actually pay this off real quick. Check the top laner's farm right here to see how much that freeze and denial worked. ZionSpartan at 9, Nien at 5 right here, and you're going to see those waves finally got cleared out. So it meant a few minions, 17 to 16 among the 80 carries. The support CS, a lot of that's due to Targons. There's a couple stacks go through to Aphromoo in this one. And here we go, just a small, tiny 100 gold lead for Coast based on their choice of how to freeze the lanes up. Shiptur being pressured here by Aphromoo. He's spending plenty of time in this one. It's actually Doublelift chilling alongside Nien because all of CLG are going for Dragon.
Yeah, they're just continuing the buddy system right here. Dragon this early
Maybe
is
not.
actually
Okay.
fairly contestable. The
It all
shared
five, I
CS
thought.
means that they're just continuing their turret push. They see that ZionSpartan is freezing temporarily, and now they're looking to mob down the wave. This is, again, heavily because of the team composition Coast has picked. Nocturne doesn't have time to farm camps when all these lane swaps are happening. That's why it was so beneficial for CLG in Game 1 that they got standard lanes. Nintendude cannot stack up large monster kills in this scenario.
Well, Nien taking massive damage in the 4v3 has to flash, but the fear still comes through. Will it be enough? Nintendude forced to run back in this one. Aphromoo takes one of the Qs. It's going to be the wave right in front of the turret, but Coast does hold the push.
Yeah, they actually might go in for a little bit more on Nien. He's got to be careful. He's actually had something disastrous happen during a maneuver like this when CLG lost a game to, I believe it was TSM, where he spent too much time in the bottom lane, got heavily behind on farm, and then obliterated in the 1v1 matchup when he did finally go back to his lane. He might be fairly far behind ZionSpartan after that little maneuver.
No, he does have the teleport, used it to get back to the top lane, so Nien, down 15 minions, has 2 Doran's Blades, and that wave's going to stop right in front of his turret. Nien is going to have a freeze unless someone stops this.
Nien made it up at just the right time, as long as he doesn't get harassed down too far with that giant wave of the turret, because death here would be the worst case scenario.
It absolutely would be. ZionSpartan level 5 is going to get a bit of a roam here. Shiptur making the way up towards the top. Will walk by Dexter on the way, though, right through a pink Hoard. Level 6 LeBlanc. Does Nien have to forfeit this? Dexter immediately runs up, try to help. Nintendude, though, also trying to make it a 3v3 or a 3v2.
Yeah, they just want to deny Nien this farm because it would give ZionSpartan a lead, which is why Dexter is here immediately. He had to run right up there. Thank goodness for that pink ward by CLG, or Nien would be in a whole lot of pain. He still may be, though.
Coast almost gonna try anyway. Stun goes in towards Dexter. Big burst! Wow! Shiptur one-shot the guy! Nien have Link to hold up, but wow!
Yeah, it was a lot of damage. Fight bottom.
All right, they're gonna run. There's the hook. Flash by both of them. No summoners now for Coast bottom lane.
Yeah, just the one heal being burned by CLG. But wow, feel like CLG is still recovering from that Shiptur shock in the top lane. How did they get all that damage out?
2 in Q2 and W, so he's a little bit more burst damage in that one, but just a couple of Doran's rings and he goes for it.
Yeah, and it was a very squishy Dexter, obviously, with the Spirit Stone at the moment. And they also probably expected the focus to be down on Nien because that's who they went up there to protect. Yikes.
Well, CLG, though, with a bit of coverage now in the bottom lane. Aphromoo, Doublelift, both level 5. Dexter only 4 right now. Nintendude is already level 6. So Coast, they are winning the experience game. They're up exactly first blood gold in global XP, so minions are pretty much a wash in this one. Madrid's Razor already done. Zion now, just killing off some minions. But now it's the potential freeze for Coast right in front of Zion's turret. No, wait, no, there's no turrets, just kidding.
Right in front of where his turret would be.
That's the one. I was like, why is the turret shooting? It should be so far down by this point. It's like, right, it's dead.
Much better start for Coast, all told.
Yeah.
The kill is on to the person that is best for the kill. But mainly, even though their bottom lane is losing, it's not nearly as bad. And the overall gold is very comparable. The thing they do have to worry about, though, is 8.5 minutes in, there's only 8 Feral Flare stacks on NintendudeX. He's going to have a very long power spike. Plus, even though it's not a bad thing to have vision control, Nocturne really needs to hit that Blade of the Ruin King, and he's put a lot of early money into those wards, which is going to delay his items.
It is, absolutely, but he has the Wriggles right now. 840 in, there's the ulti in on towards Aphromoo. The Fear Tether going to be landing as well, puts the damage through, and that's going to be a kill picked up for Nintendude. But Dexter is there for the counterattack. Big damage comes through, teleport comes in. That's going to be ZionSpartan forcing the team away. Cancels it though. Oh my god, gigantic javelin.
Wow, so close to getting a kill there, but Coast returns yet another one. This time on Nintendude, so that kill will make up for that ward gold he had spent. What is CLG going to do off that one? They're still trying to take objectives on top of wards here, knowing that Nintendude was extremely low, so there's no smite threat. Is a smart call by CLG to go.
Shiptur could try, not going to. Dragon picked up successfully Counterlogic Gaming. Only now down 700 gold. Good call by these guys. They lost a champion and still managed to come out ahead. That's, to me, always the mark of a great team. Less champions on the map, but you know that you're in a better situation.
Get that teamwork mentality working strong. Nien's still roaming around a lot. His lane's getting frozen frequently. Could be a 4-man turret push after all is said and done because they've gotten a fight, but I think that was really just to set up the turret push.
Level 7 there for Nintendude. He could show up if he wanted to, but Nien, Aphromoo, and co pushing in nicely. Great. A pillar comes down. Not good for Daydreamin. He will die underneath the turret. CLG picking up their first kill of the game.
Yep.
Now within 500 gold, they got control.
There's a reason that when 4 people are in a lane early on in the game, people abort the turret. That doesn't change just because we're 10 minutes into the game. Coast should not have stuck around when there were 4 people pushing there for CLG, and it cost them a kill.
Well, Shift looking for some damage back on a Link. Not going to mean too much, though. There we go. Turret picked up. Counter Logic Gaming now winning in gold for the first time now. Teamwork, we said it was the important factor for them, and it is the great rotation. Meanwhile, Zion is just still sitting in the top lane. He is farming while CLG is pushing. I do want to see how that continues to pan out.
Zion will be the X factor, but when he does teleport down, he has to be able to get kills. Otherwise, he will not snowball this game on Aurelia. CLG still rotating strong as a team and going for more turrets. If they get all those turrets down, the map control might be too much.
There you go, mid lane with 5. Some quick wave clear. Another javelin on Nintendude. He's got to be careful, and I know you kept talking about the fact that Dexter was counter-jungling early game, taking camps away. We still got a while to go for Nintendude. Hook's gonna land, though. This is not good for Nocturne. Thankfully for him, the flay doesn't land. That would have been the kill if it did. He has to back off now. Once again, CLG get the poke on the jungler, the poke on a Shifter. The siege continues. Nope, just kidding.
Gold
Backing
even.
off.
They did have to back off. They got a little bit low, despite landing a few spears. And those spears, if they keep landing,
Yeah.
they're going to be trouble. Good early signs by Link that he's able to land so many of these. He didn't have a blue buff, though, so that this siege has a timestamp on it.
And right now, just with the Chalice, Link is just killing away the minions, keeping control of his lanes. The teleport comes in for Nien right as Zion pushes all the way up.
He might be in trouble here. Here comes the block.
See if it's going to be enough. The slow comes down. Big burst. Nien very low. Kill picked up. Daydreamin secures it for the team. There's going to be some pressure on the turret. Dexter and Aphro are there to defend. Looks like that won't be enough. Turret goes over to Coast.
Nice move there by Coast. The expected rotation to the top lane. Knowing that CLG values their own turrets so heavily, they knew that that teleport would be burned in the top lane. But now they go mid. Let's see how CLG protects this one.
And there we go. Nocturnal goes in, goes for Aphromoo and tries to dip out. He's going to be safe. WizFujiiN, though, has to get away. The Flay doing good things. Summoner heal the flash as well. WizFujiiN survives. The team gets out.
This is really just all about extended turret pushing. There's a giant wave in the top lane. Zion out of mana, Nien has to hold that one. But the rest of CLG is down the mid lane where they just made people back and burned a Nocturne ult. So not only do they have the numbers advantage, the threat of an engage by Coast is greatly diminished.
And there's a hook on a Shifter. He's going to wave clear, though. Keeps himself alive. WizFujiiN's ultimate is available, so he can help to wave clear a little bit there. And of course, the top lane was held successfully. ZionSpartan recalls, though, has Phage and Shin. So the power spike is almost there for the Coast top laner. 1,200 gold lead right now for Team Coast. Dodging javelins much better than last time. We'll see if Link can continue to hit some more. Lizard Elder done. Nintendude with a spell shield hit.
Low on mana, though. Nintendude is almost no threat for standing there, other than to block spears. He's got to get back to farming. 13 minutes in. He's at 9 stacks.
Wow.
For Feral Flare.
54 CS is interesting, though, because like he's killed things, but they just aren't actually jungle monsters right here. It's going to take quite some time. Blue buff now. It's going to go to Link. Of course, Coast not up. Again, earlier, Dexter left part of that camp available. The blue buffs are very desynchronized here. So Shifter without the regen. Some damage to the mid lane turret, but Coast can't get the sieges to work. CLG just poses so much threat right now.
The mid lane is the battlefield, though, of course, because the side lanes have all had big turret deficits. But once the mid lane goes down, it will enable the map-wide movement of CLG to take over, or the singular movement of Coast's Shifter. That's why these guys are grouping up so heavily. It is the poke versus the counter-engage. Nintendude, because he is still not level 11, cannot use that Nocturne ult. He had to burn it defensively, and the cooldown is gargantuan for that thing. So they're really just stuck defending and trying to dodge NIDALEE spears.
They're doing an okay job of that. ZionSpartan again looks for the trade onto Nien, level 10 versus 9 with the item lead. You can see Zion can flex his will there to a almost 30 minion lead. I gotta say, that's pretty massive though. Coast has their own advantages they can play. CLG, of course, theirs tends to be the siege and the poke, but this time
gone. That's turret.
Coast get it. Yeah, Doublelift forced to hold bottom in this one. There we go. Turrets 4-3, kills 3-1. The Dragon in 40 seconds.
I really do think because of turret control and having stronger solos at this juncture, Coast does hold the cards necessary to play them well and win the game. Shifter gonna go for that DFG, and if he can arrive while ZionSpartan fights people again and again, they could pull off their Coast split push strategy. CLG will need to catch them within a rotation if they want to come back in this one.
Well, Coast right now looking to catch in rotation. If they wait in this brush, they could just find Aphromoo. He actually knows there's darkness. He's waiting around. Aphro knows it would be death to go forward. Really smart to know that the darkness is scary. Waits now to defend the top lane turret, but Coast, all of them are there while Doublelift is in the bottom lane. This is a 5 versus 4. How much can Coast get? CLG in the front lines, Nien taking it up. Bit of flay damage comes through. Turret down to half HP. WizFujiiN taking a big javelin, though. Coast not able to keep the siege going, and Doublelift is about to claim himself a turret.
ZionSpartan has so much of Coast strength right now that grouping as 5 is actually not a good call by them. Just seeing the level 7 Ezreal and the level 8 Nocturne is just weakness.
Uh-oh, Arcane Shift goes maybe not the way he was hoping. Dexter still on the chase. Looks like he'll get rooted up. That's going to be a safe situation there. Double.
Oh, don't take the wrong turn.
Does not have mana, does have flash and heal. Shiptur on the other side. Doublelift knows about this, has very few places to go. ZionSpartan gets the solo kill on CLG's AD carry.
Wherever Zion is, Coast is strongest. And Doublelift, because he saw Shiptur stalking him, really, he did not use his healer flash because he would have been chased down by LeBlanc anyway. That kill grants him the dragon. The control by Coast is great right now.
They're finding exactly the right moves to make. There it goes. Dragon picked up, going to be roughly the 10th stack there for NintendudeX. You know what? Wriggles, heck, it gives him a ward at the very least. He's using that. I mean, he's using that and just allowing him to help his team, make the rotations.
Yeah.
Even if you're not killing jungle mobs, there's still a little bit of a GP10 out of that item.
He's getting a little bit of gold. He's doing some things. Yeah. But it's really all about ZionSpartan and Shiptur right now.
Absolutely is.
The control that they're granting. I mean, so much of that early game where CLG was trying to roam around and get advantages was Zion just soloing right now. And now that he's at his Trinity Force on Aurelia, he can make plays. The DFG has been completed by Shiptur as well. They are the dynamic duo right now, and it's on the rest of Coast to let them work.
I want to see if CLG can do something, though, to gum up the works, because while all has been happening, there's been significant farm going on to Doublelift. Like, you make the comparisons, like, okay, Zion's winning, Shifter's winning, Doublelift, 127 minions, Bloodthirster's already done. He's the one who holds a lot of the split push waves.
And there's also the X factor of NIDALEE.
Yeah.
Versus a team with no sustain. If Link gets a couple items and starts landing a few spears, it can chain into a forever siege. If Coast can ever contain ZionSpartan and Shiptur, that is another real possibility. So there are still plays here for CLG to win, but they are losing right now.
2,300 gold puts Coast in the lead. As Skara put it, they're always winning until they lose, so we'll see if Coast can break that curse right here, though, and keep that lead throughout.
Teamfighting is not necessarily the best play by Coast right now, but they are feeling confident because of their 4-kill lead and their 1 turret advantage.
ZionSpartan lurking around, does take a little bit of javelin to the face. Daydreamin just going to clear. There's a big wave towards the bottom. If Coast can stop the rotations, they get some pressure on the inhibitor turret. The rest of the lane's pretty much holding equal. Summoner Heal just got used. Daydreamin misclicking that one.
Yeah, definitely a mistake. Maybe he just wanted to move fast. Could use that heal now.
Yeah, right.
Would have been handy.
Well, the pink wards, though, starting to go into the jungle. Coast really trying to block off a lot of these rotations, keep their champions in the fog of war. You can see another ward right there. Coast already preparing all of this. Shifter does own the blue buff, though. Coast spent some significant time to own the top jungle. They are rewarded with the blue buff steal. You talked about how important Link would be. That's been shortcut a little bit with the blue steal.
Yeah, it absolutely has been. Link cannot spam spears forever, and he cannot sustain to the level that CLG wants him to.
Oh, Daydreamin gonna walk right into Dexter and Aphromoo. Hook gonna come out, land on a Zion, though, not the ideal target. He will disengage, and Power Q comes out. Doublelift takes a little bit of punishment as well. Wards come down on both sides.
CLG's hoping to farm this one out. Get a little bit of magic resist, wait for Aurelia to equalize a little bit with Trundle. Hope to not lose too much in the process. CLG is only down 2,000 gold and does have superior team play. Just from a team perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, Catalogic Gaming, right? They're sitting on a 2,000 gold deficit and keeping it there. In game 1, CLG had 2,000 gold, made it 3,000 gold, made it 4,000 gold, made it 8,000 gold, and they won the game 10 minutes from this point in.
Yeah.
Coast taking a much slower route with this one. They have not found any picks. CLG's been very controlled to not give anything away. There's only been 1 turret and 1 dragon in the last few minutes for Coast. We'll see if they can force the next
WizFujiiN is
objective.
almost a non-factor right now. If Doublelift stays alive in teamfights, soon he will have a very critical impact. He's just sitting on the Bloodthirster now. But you add to the fact NIDALEE gives him attack speed, he can become an extremely potent threat later in the game.
And Coast just are unwilling to siege. They had a 2 to 3 stacked up minion wave up there and did not even bother trying to go for that fight. Coast very much gun shy here.
Yeah, and there's been so much team roaming that NintendudeX will probably be worthless soon by the end of the game. He's at 16 stacks on his Feral Flare, 20.5 minutes into the game. It's good now because they're maintaining control of the map, but late game Nocturne that is not farmed up and does not have that strong life on hit does not do much. He would jump in and then get killed by Doublelift. Oof. Or just a spear.
Or by, yeah. Link could do it. Either one of them seems to be having the best impact. Kind of a 2-carry team right here for Counterlogic Gaming. Dexter actually has added a Sight Stone to his inventory. I know it's par for the course for Lee Sin, but in a game where you're, you know, kind of behind Coast are trying to get rid of wards as much as possible, trying to get picks from rotations with champions like LeBlanc. Getting those 3 extra wards down kind of consistently helps CLG make those rotations correctly without getting picked off.
One really interesting thing we found when we were looking at... Ooh, it's a lot of damage on a Doublelift.
Oh, the chain lands. Shiptur. Summoner heal popped up, but there comes Aphromoo in the back line. Gonna keep him safe, but Summoner heal for Ignite.
Yeah. That was a nice play by Shiptur. Aphromoo came in to save. One interesting thing that we noticed, though, when we're looking at wards across regions, is as far as site wards purchased, North America almost purchased 50% more than Europe, but that's not because they're placing fewer wards. Overall, North America buys way more sweeping lenses, and they're much more about clearing wards, so they're not placing as many wards with their trinkets in that sense. And you can see it reflected in this game. Even though it's fairly early, there's 7 sweeping lenses in this game already, and tons of wards trying to get cleared away.
Yeah, I'm curious how much Coast is having to spend now on all these pink wards, these green wards going on, because as I briefly mentioned, right, CLG double Sight Stone, their wards are cheaper. Like, if you keep sweeping wards forever, Coast actually loses gold. Daydreamin taking big damage, has to flash. Dexter flash kicks, takes him out. They're re-engaged now. ZionSpartan getting collapsed on. Trophy comes out, 2nd kill picked up. Shift from the back line does find the kill on a Doublelift, but he is very much alone now. Trying to run away. Summoner heal by WizFujiiN might keep him alive. The chain's coming out. The hook, it's gonna land. Shiptur is going to be trying to run. No, he's gonna go down. Dexter picks up another kill. 3 for 1 CLG.
Aphromoo with the play right at the end. It's almost like Coast fell asleep on that one. CLG stuck together and just found the kill. The NIDALEE X Factor landed the spear, followed it up. They get the kills and the dragon. What more can they get?
They might get Nintendo. Looks like they will. He's got nowhere to go. Fear comes up. Oh, the flash over the wall is nice. He made his disengaged Link. 1 spear could turn it. Slow down a bit. Some more damage comes through. Actually, Daydreamin waiting around with the team. Link now forced to run away. Because this is a 3v4, it might be more than they want.
Yeah, but CLG is rather low, and they know there are more people on the way, including a ZionSpartan.
What? Can he pick up? Dives on towards Dexter. The Flay might just keep Dexter safe, though. Another slow comes in. The Lantern as well. The Root will land. Here comes Nocturne. The Javelin nearly lands, but Aphromoo will go down. Now the chase for Zion. Nien flashes the wall. He'll stay safe. 1 kill picked up in the backside, but +1 kill, +1 dragon. Coast still trying. Nien slow down, pops the ulti.
Oh, he's caught him.
Link will have a javelin.
Try to be. Does he have mana for a spear? And he's got the turret soon. Nice pillar.
Good trophy keeps Nien safe. CLG though, they bring the gold back within 400. Coast getting back whatever they can.
Take another look at the way this fight started some minutes ago. It was really just a spear into Dexter, and that was enough to take him down. And then the rest of Coast, since they were trapped in that team fight without their support, just wasn't as strong. Yes, Shiptur could take Doublelift down in the back, but the mob of CLG moving was strong enough to get them objectives. All told, after that one, gold-wise, they're back in this game, and they have shown their threat and their ability to finish kills.
Some excellent play now. Gonna see a 500 gold difference between the two. ZionSpartan 1, 1, and 4 on his Trinity Force and Giant's Belt, Aurelia, so starting to go tanky. In the mid game, says, you know, I'm gonna need to stay around in teamfights a bit more. There's a lot of CC I have to worry about. Dash away by Shiptur, he'll stay safe. Nintendude and Dexter, both level 11.
Yeah, and I know we're harping on it, but one of the big stories we had to track in this game was how long until Nintendude can transform his Feral Flare. He's still only at 19 stacks. He's like 80% of the way there. He needs more.
ZionSpartan, they're gonna hooked into 3 people, and the rest of the team shows as well. The catches, CLG when they own the map, are getting killed left, right, and center. They are collapsing on these advantages.
They have regained control right now. And NIDALEE is just now working up to her death cap. Those spears are going to be hitting even harder. There's no Soraka.
What?
This one.
Dexter just died.
We're going to have to take another look at that one, but a fight breaks out.
There we go. Daydreamin very, very low on health. They're re-engaged in the mid lane. It's going to be the kill already on a Daydreamin. CLG
Yeah,
just,
so
you're finding him.
A little bit of craziness happened right there, obviously. Daydreamin fell down, nice hook, but this play over in the side, Dexter was just trying to find something. Looks like Shiptur found him right through the Hex Drinker as well.
Yeah, you proc the R mark with a maxed up rank W, and that's going to be a whole bunch of burst at once. Going right through it. Deathfire Grass, of course, helps as well. Nintendu going to kill another camp. Going to be stack number 21 here. A minute 26 in the game.
Just nowhere near what Dexter was like on Nocturne last game. It's because it's not necessarily a fault of Nintendu. It's a fault of Coast's overall strategy and CLG forcing so many lane swaps and team rotations. If Nintendu is actually farming his jungle, CLG would have taken so many more map advantages. They forced Nintendu away from his jungle and have thus delayed his power spike.
And it's worked, 97 to 100 minions. Small lead for Dexter. Of course, he's doing just fine. Conservation works much better in this kind of game.
Which is kind of unthinkable, that a Lee Sin has more minion farm than a Nocturne. CLG has just been more rotational on the map, which is impressive considering they were pushed in for so much of this game.
And so now Coast on the back foot a little bit. ZionSpartan afraid to leave the base kind of to make some plays. Twin Shadows used do spot out CLG. And Coast say, you know, they don't want to go for it. Nien wasn't there, had TP, but no 5-on-4. Sun goes in towards Dexter. Big burst! Wow! Shiptur one-shot the guy!
Yeah, right there. CLG putting out the lantern. If the hook was landing afterwards, it could be a play. CLG's really just waiting for a spear to land or a hook to land, or they're waiting for Coast to engage on them, and then they would try and disengage smartly.
Well, CLG definitely been playing this game rather intelligently overall. Bit of damage, Nien. Not going to do much. Coast still waiting around now. They're the defenders, but it's Link with a depth cap, with Athene's Unholy Grail, with the Javelins. Figured only going to take 2 for them to give up the turret right here. Bit more poke comes through. Dexter looks for the play to make on the side. Javelin not going to hit this time. In comes the wave. Doublelift actually puts some good damage down. 3 hits from dead. ZionSpartan shows up. Javelin to the back line. Nien going to face take this. There goes the turret. CLG, the siege is working for them.
Yeah, and this is the NIDALEE team versus the team with no heals and very limited magic resistance. That happened again.
Yep. There he was. That was the warrior that he died for.
The sad corpse of Dexter. He had a lot of defensive capabilities as well. Merc Treads, Hex Drinker, and a Giants build. Doesn't save him from the shift. Let's see this time. Did he have any backup, or was it just him?
Just wanted the ward.
You can't have it.
Nope.
Ouch.
Shifter back over the wall. Dexter's got to learn his lesson.
Shifter single-handedly trying to keep Coast in this game.
I like some of the item choices, though, if Coast gets back into it. Twin Shadows picked up here. Try to get Karma into this one. Nocturnal goes in. They're going to look for the fight. 5v4. Big Ezel. Nintendu still in the front lines, taking big damage, though. Force a disengage. Nien, though, the front line tank won't even go down. Zion is off on the side, looks for Nien this time around. The face of the Mountain Shield keeps him in a good spot. Javelin not quite going to land. WizFujiiN forced to run away. 5v4. Coast can't win the battle.
It's all about the disengage here from CLG. They have so much of it, and they're just waiting for Coast to try and initiate. We talked about how the Nocturne initiations would be lackluster. He went all alone and did not do much other than wait for the rest of Coast to arrive.
Uh-oh, and here comes the flank. Nuh-uh, it's going to be Link going back towards the mid lane.
They're pushing mid lane strong because Coast was pushed away to the side lane.
And it's going to be enough for the turret to go down. CLG find another advantage here. Daydreamin not able to get his team in this one. ZionSpartan forced to flash the hook and the trophy. Now the mid inhibitor going to be going down. A lot of cooldowns burned by Coast. CLG still very powerful. Nien in a good spot. Zion now taking a bunch of damage. Forced to run away. The hook is going to land. Down he goes. Inhibitor in the mid lane goes. 29.5 minutes in.
Zion's advantage has been lost. CLG has neutralized it. Nien has done enough to catch up on Trundle, and CLG has regained control of this game. The inhibitor goes down, they still have ZionSpartan dead, and they can secure another objective.
Wow, so Counter Logic Gaming looking so much better in this mid game there. They kind of just completely weathered that storm when they were behind in gold. Zion was big, they held their turret time after time. Dragon now going down, 4,000 gold lead to Counter Logic Gaming. They've even given up one all game.
It is the mark of an experienced team, knowing when they are strong and when the other team is weak. They just waited out Coast. They let ZionSpartan make a mistake. They caught him in the jungle, and they found their own opportunities without ever getting engaged upon. It's part of their team composition as well. We talked about it before the game, how CLG has the team comp that will fight when they want to, but is extremely good at disengaging, and they have done just that. Coast can't find the fights that they want to, yet CLG can.
Impressive play by these guys. ZionSpartan now just playing away minions in the mid lane. You're actually seeing that he's been donated to the farm. Shiptur is waiting off on the sides. He's looking to find an opportunistic kill. Someone walks his way. Link just might be that person. There goes the attempt. Oh, he misses the chain. That might have been the damage to kill him because the ulti mark would have triggered.
Yeah. That was popping his heal as well. Now with the blue buff, though, his actual NIDALEE heal will get him up to full. That was an opportunity missed by Coast.
Very nearly stopped that push for another minute or so. Blue buff to Shifter. It's going to let him try more often here. Ulti's almost back up from cooldown. Death Cap going to be the next pickup there, but he's got a ways to go. Over 2,000 gold until that item is done. Hoard swept out by CLG. They're starting to own the Baron pit.
Yeah, and the Ghosts have actually just been used by Daydreamin, so their scouting is done for, which means CLG with multiple pink wards to control just started. They will peel off if they see Coast going back, but this is just an insurance policy right now. If Coast doesn't check, CLG gets it.
And Link right now just running interference in the mid line. It's going to be the heals coming in, keep double his damage up. He pops the ulti as well. Shifter off in the wings. Hook's going to come through. Does he find the damage? No, he does not. Baron picked up by CLG. Nintendude forced to flash. One hit from dead, though. Can he get himself out of this one? Flash Javelin actually hits him. Nintendude goes down.
I wonder if CLG tries to power play this straight through the mid lane. They do have a 5v4. They do have super minions up, but they have a giant wave in the top lane as well. And just like game one, they're going for all the turrets.
And they're going to look now. The top lane is going to be going down rather quickly. Minions have already claimed all those defending Coast minions. 20 seconds of 5 versus 4 CLG. Going to have the chance to push Shifter. Forced to disengage over the wall. His cooldowns are down now. Nien happy to face tank this one. This turret will fall rather shortly. 5v3 for a short time. That is going to go down. Inhibitor likely to follow suit. Counterlogic Gaming now with 2 inhibitors dead and a Baron buff. What else can they grab?
Yeah, this is the question. They almost grabbed a Daydreamin with one. Hook and Fusion gets solo. CLG might go for Nexus turret damage. It is slightly risky, but they gotta be feeling confident after this great comeback.
Gigantic clump of minions are there. ZionSpartan gets kicked back into the team. He's gonna be taking so much pain down. He goes Shifter. Also worth disengage. Zion actually gets away on fire, but turret number 1, turret number 2 going down. Counter Logic Gaming.
There goes the
Gonna
Nexus.
make it 2-0. 33-minute game to follow the 30-minute game 1. Convincing quarterfinal for Counterlogic Gaming.
And this means they move on to play TSM in the semifinals tomorrow, which will be a matchup for the ages. But even so, this game against Coast, they were tested a little bit early on. They did not have strong tactical movements early, but boy did they have them late. Link landed many spears, Dexter initiated properly. Got picked off a few times by Shifter.
Yeah.
But all told, they stuck together, they got past their nerves, and CLG as an organization wins their first LCS quarterfinal ever.
And they made it. They made it up there into the top 4. Of course, guaranteed their LCS spot with that one. They're 2 series away from a trip to the All-Star Invitational in Paris in a couple of weeks. And yeah, everybody I feel like stepped up so well in this one. Standard situation for Coast though, right? ZionSpartan starting out his lane very well. Split push threat, making individual plays. Shifter on LeBlanc. He finds individual picks. That is things that these players do time and again, no matter how good their opponents are. These are phenomenal players that continue to perform. Unfortunately, Coast the team, and a lot of that's CLG's team comp. They're able to disengage. But with the 2,000 gold lead, 18 minutes in, no plays were made. It wasn't strangle the map on the jungle and just like farm up, which we saw EG in the last week do against XDG. It wasn't dive turrets, close the game up, make advantages. It wasn't siege, it wasn't split push. Coast faltered there 20 minutes in. CLG found the way back and closed it out convincingly once they got the lead.
Yeah, Doublelift's got to be pretty happy about that one. Good CS throughout this series, 263 in the next game, a little bit lower, but that is to be expected because they were pushed back for most of the game. Unfortunately for Coast, they drop into that 5th, 6th place matchup, as you can see in this bracket as well. They will drop into that 5th place match due to their defeat. And Team Solo Mid versus Counterlogic Gaming tomorrow at noon.
It's going to be a fun one. Of course, we still have more matches today. It's going to be all kinds of great. Let's see what happens in this one. So, let's see, Coast, yeah, Coast's going to face off against our next quarterfinal match. Of course, Dignitas versus Curse, that is next. Loser faces Coast. We're going to see what that one's going to be. Loser of that match goes into the summer promotion tournament. Another important match for this one.
This is going to be a great weekend right here. And obviously, all these games matter a whole bunch right here. The next game between Dignitas and Curse, that is an even closer matchup. This one went generally to be expected. CLG was a much stronger team for the whole year. Can't say the same about Dignitas Curse.
Yeah, it went 3-1 on the season overall. Curse did win that they went 3-1 against Dignitas in the regular season. You'd think they're the favorite going in, but they're still very evenly matched teams. The 4 and 5 seed, they're up next. It's just, that's the match to watch now, right? Coast has to watch that match, say who's our opponent going to be, kind of key into that matchup and say, what are the weaknesses that the other team exploited that we could exploit? What are things we can learn from our own quarterfinal match? Those are the questions that need to be answered both today and tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously TSM was watching closely against CLG. They're longtime rivals. Nien has got to feel good about this series. You know, he went up against ZionSpartan and definitely held his own, especially in that last game where Zion got so much of the farm that Nien wasn't allowed access to. And he still came in stronger in teamfights, which really played to his strengths.
Yeah, and that's kind of the key. Is I also want to see, though, are there more looks to CLG? So they seem to hone in on a smart sort of disengaged comp. But even when he was like on Jax, a hyper carry, Nien was just, well, I'm going to be there for team fights. Wasn't a split push. I want to know how deep the strategic book goes for CLG. How many more looks they have. If a team figures them out, is that a weakness? It's something to be answered. Well, for now, we're going to send it over to the analyst desk, though, for more on CLG's victory.
Thank you very much, Freak, and I'd like to welcome CLG's dynamic bot lane duo, Doublelift and Aphromoo. First of all, congratulations on your win. Well played. Game 1 seemed to go perfectly in your favor. Game 2, a little bit more of a struggle. So let's talk about the opening minutes. Shifter seemed to get roaming a little bit. How did you guys handle the early game, and how did you bounce back from behind?
Well, I think we outplayed them early game in the 2v1. We finished the tower race a lot faster than them, and we put a lot of pressure on the map. And the thing that Coast does that no good teams really do, like the top 3 teams do, is Zion froze on Nien. And that's actually really horrible to do. It's just, you're putting no pressure on the map, and then like we are supposed to react, which we did eventually, but a little bit late by diving bottom. And we kind of did a little bit late, and it ended up having Nien really far behind. So essentially, like they had a top laner who was really strong, and we had a weak top laner, and all the other lanes were like doing pretty well. But Aurelia has a really strong early game and kind of falls off later on. So we kind of knew, oh wow, they have LeBlanc, they have Aurelia, and they're doing really well this game. Maybe like strategically they didn't play very well, but somehow they managed to get like really high CS on those 2 champions, and we were just trying to play like defensive. They just walked into our jungle, and they know they're stronger, but after like 5 or 10 minutes of that, we kind of catch up in terms of strength.
Well, you seem to have a very good grasp on 4.5 sitting up on the stage. Aphromoo, what was preparation like coming into the playoffs? You know, quite a lot changed in terms of itemization and some thought process, the new tower push meta, so to speak. So how did CLG prep, and how are you feeling on the patch?
We prepared a lot versus Cloud9, who's really good at innovating and figuring out things before other teams do, which is why they're the top seed in NA. And playing against C9 really helped us a lot in figuring out what's good, what's not good. And, you know, the triple heal right now, the double heal bot lane, which is kind of ridiculous. And then runes are really new too as well, where reds give the same armor as yellows do. So it's just pretty good all around. And even in the 2v1, it's like people are discovering new ways to push faster like we did that game. So
I've got a very specific question that we'll throw to Dexter later. But as a team, does CLG look at and evaluate Feral Flare? In Game 1, it seemed like you were super happy camping and farming. Dexter got so far ahead on Feral Flare stacks. Game 2, it felt like you were controlling Nintendude. So my question is, was that a conscious decision, or was it a benefit of the strategic play that you guys had going in?
It's a little bit of both. I think when we have a Feral Flare jungler, we tend to be like, okay, we just want 2v2, 1v1 lanes, obviously, because if you're 2v1ing, then the Feral Flare jungler kind of gets behind. You can't farm your camps as much when you have to respond to pressure. And I think it wasn't so much us making like a great decision, like a conscious effort, as much as Coast just making like bad decisions, because the first game, they chose to 2v2 us. They could have 2v1 if they wanted to, but they chose to 2v2 us, and that let Dexter farm forever on his Feral Flare. In the second game, we forced 2v1 on them, but they should have like known. It's really obvious that we're going to 2v1 that game. And they could have very easily, chose to mirror us to 2v2 and then get their Feral Flare jungler started. So it's like a little bit of both. In the end, it's a little bit of a gamble, like a guessing game, but yeah.
Well, it seems to work out in your favor. Another event that worked out in your favor was a dragon fight from Game 2. Let's pull this replay up onto your screens. It was a slightly extended fight. Starts with some poking and Dexter some flashy moves. So Doublelift and Aphro, let's tag team this one. Talk us through the play. Let's roll this one out and talk me through what's happening in the communication and how you guys handled it.
Well, the spear landed, and I didn't even see this, honestly, on my screen. I play with lock camera. So maybe Aphro can comment on that.
All right. Well, they had war control over our blue, but Daydreamin got caught out, and we got a spear right there, and then Zion got caught out by a good Nien pillar and a spear. And Doublelift died to LeBlanc here, and we're like, what's going on, dude? Holy crap.
Yeah, what was going on?
Well...
Why were you so out of position, man?
I blame Aphro, dude. Where was my lantern? He should have told me. But, no, I'm just really bad. I shouldn't have... I was like, where's LeBlanc? She was probably like next to Dragon or something. I'm gonna go check. And then I like walked into the brush and just instantly died. That was a pretty good signature meme move right there.
Aphro, who's the loudest voice in those moments? Because there's a lot of action, a lot of locations. Dexter's flashing in one way. All of a sudden, your AD carry's down. He's screaming at you, "Where's my lantern?" Who's the loudest voice, and who's calling those moments?
I would say me. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I'm the loudest.
So because you were commanding the team, you couldn't save lift?
Well, sometimes you just have to let them go.
Yeah. Sacrifice one for the benefit of the many.
Doublelift, I have a question for you. Last week or 2 weeks ago, you had a quote when you guys took out TSM, and you said that it was one of the most gratifying wins of your career.
Yeah.
With the victory today, you are playing Team Solo Mid tomorrow in the semi-finals, best of 3. It is one of the longest, actually, it is the longest standing rivalry in competitive League of Legends, CLG versus TSM. What does that series mean to you, and how important is it?
Well, to be honest, I don't see TSM so much as like, yeah, there are rivals. I think they're about even with C9 at this point because our games are so good. I think it'll be way more gratifying to beat C9 because I want to make it to Grand Finals, obviously. But beating TSM just shows like, yeah, we're better than them, which I firmly believe we are better than them.
So going into tomorrow's match, 2-0, 2-1. I mean, those are strong
words.
It's
2-1. It's not going to be that much. Like we're not like head over heels or anything, but. I don't know. They seem to be really slow to adapt to the new patch, and I just want to get this games like in. I just want to see what did TSM do to prepare because we scrimmed a lot against C9, who I think are the strongest team right now.
Aphromoo, talking similar vein, playing against TSM tomorrow. When you look at the rosters, a lot of players, old CLG, old TSM from the glory days, are not there anymore. But this is now modern times. How are you feeling going into the matchup? Are you as confident as Doublelift as the shot caller in some of the more dramatic moments?
I was actually really more scared against Coast because I feel like they would pull out the cheese, but thankfully they didn't. And versus TSM, I'm just really comfortable playing against TSM, and I'm very confident that my team can take them on in a head-to-head.
Well, a lot of confidence. I wish you guys the best of luck. I look forward to watching your games tomorrow. And once again, congratulations on the win. We do need to take a very quick break, guys. And when we come back, we'll jump into our next quarterfinal series between Dignitas and Curse, which will determine who will move on to our second semi-final series tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Sun goes in towards dexter. Big burst! Wow! Shiptur one-shot the guy! The chain's coming out the hook. It's gonna land. Shiptur is going to be trying to run